Welcome to Season 4 of the Excel podcast. In this season, as before, we will be bringing you news, views and opinions from people relating to the driver training industry, both local personalities from here in the southwest and nationally recognised figures, all of whom will have something to say about their experience with driver training. We hope you enjoy each episode, and if you do, please give us a like at the end of it. Right, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Excel podcast. This one has taken a little bit of time to arrange, and we've still had a few gremlins today. Last October or November, I did a podcast with Ollie Taylor from The Honest Truth, who directed me towards Vision Zero Southwest, and in particularly he rang extolled the virtues of Natalie Warr, who I have finally managed to get on today. Natalie, thanks ever so much for giving up your time.
No problem at all, Kevin.
And all the troubles and tribulations we've had of actually arranging this over the last 6 months. Even today, one or two of your two colleagues have struggled to get on. So if they can't get on, I know we have talked about this can be a taster, and I can do something separately with them. Anyway, let's start off with just an explanation of what Vision Zero Southwest is and what it's aiming to achieve, which I suppose in a way is fairly explicit, but just give us a little bit of an overview.
Yeah, of course. So Vision Zero Southwest is a partnership of collaborative agencies working together in that road safety space. So lots of our partners hold either statutory duty for road safety, or they might be the emergency responders dealing with people once those incidents have happened. So I think one thing is very clear, that everybody that we work with shares the same passion for road safety and wants to see difference on our roads. As a partnership, we're striving towards Vision Zero, which effectively means we don't want to see anyone harmed on our roads. Now, obviously, that's really challenging and we accept that, but nonetheless, we're all working together to strive towards achieving that. We've set ourselves targets to 2030, in which we'd like to see a 50% reduction, which was obviously set from a baseline. And if we achieve that by 2030, that would mean 29 fewer deaths and 386 fewer serious injuries. But clearly, we want to strive towards zero, because those numbers in themselves are too many, and we're doing everything we can in that space to try and effect that change.
Right, and you have some strategies for different categories of road user to try and achieve these goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a partnership, we look at a range of what we call themes. So these are groups of areas that we work within. We look at older driver, younger driver, business driver. We also look at pedestrians, cyclists and motorcyclists. So these are the areas in which, as partners within the partnership, we are looking to do initiatives, training. It might be some comms. In other areas, it might be around enforcement. So we really are looking at the whole suite, which stretches across enforcement, education, training, and engagement is a key part of what we do. And that's across all of those themes that I just mentioned.
I know that one of your or both of your colleagues were going to go into some of these in a bit more detail, which we can look forward to doing at a later date with each of them. But these the figures, so the 50% by 2030 and zero by 2040. I assume they weren't just figures plucked out of thin air, that there was sort of a reason for picking those numbers and those dates, and feeling that possibly could be achievable.
Yeah, so I think we're aligning very much with what national campaigns are working towards. So we'll work within the realm of safe systems, which is not new. That was developed back in the 80s by Sweden, in terms of how you look at the whole system working together. So that's safer roads, safer speeds, safer road users. It picks up the post-crash care element. So it's all of those factors
Right.
working
Yeah.
together. And a lot of partnerships have adopted the same principles in terms of that 50% reduction by 2030. And clearly, I think a lot of people out there share that same ambition in terms of, any numbers, one number too many. And as I said at
Yeah.
the beginning, it's a very challenging target, but it's one we must all strive to do our very best to achieve. And we know that working with communities in terms of our comms, and reaching out and giving out the sort of sensible tips that people can be adopting is
Yeah.
just part of the work that we do.
Yeah. And how are you getting the message over to people?
So we very much work with experts in terms of behaviour change. So
Yeah.
just to pick on some of the, I guess, innovative things that we've done recently. So for motorcycling, we worked with behaviour change experts at the government's Cabinet Office to look at how we can develop messages that reach the audience in a way that resonates with them.
Right.
So on our website, viewers will be able to see a series of videos which take the principles of somebody who's written a letter of something that happened to them, with in some ways having a key message that they want to portray because of that incident. And it's read out by
Right.
someone different. So it was very much fronted with the first video being voiced by Henry Cole, so he's a well-known biker. But
Right.
it's just some of the different ways that we're trying to get some of those
Yeah.
messages out, because we appreciate in everyday life there's lots of messages coming in from all different angles. And we were just trying to get the message over in a slightly different way that resonated with the audience.
Yeah.
But, that's something that we're just doing in that particular area. But we are trying to do this much more with all of our other theme groups as well.
Right. Of course, I've got a vested interest in some parts of this in the driving instructor area,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll come to in a little while. Just to show that I did actually do a little bit of research beforehand, were you talking about sort of this integrated approach in Sweden? But there's two of the other Scandinavian countries on your website. You've got some impressive figures there for things that have happened in Finland and Norway, with Helsinki saying that they had 0 pedestrian deaths in 2019, and Oslo also had none, but also had no children involved in traffic crashes in the country.
Yeah, and I
Now,
think there is a paper out there which does suggest that for children under the age of 5, road traffic collision is one of the key reasons why there are injuries and fatalities. And
yeah.
clearly, they are part of this picture that we are trying to change in terms of those numbers.
So I assume that you have taken the evidence or the strategies that they've done out there and either cherry picked or used the same ideas over here.
Yeah, so as I said, I think this premise about moving towards a future of Vision Zero is one that's widely adopted by many partners, including those that you've just mentioned. And we do, of course, look around to see where best practice might be held for
Yeah.
certain areas. So um, we also work with many other partnerships within the UK itself through PACS as an organisation. So that's the Parliamentary Advisory Council for Traffic Safety. So many partnerships are in
Right.
that space, and we do work collaboratively in terms of sharing the work that we're doing and the results that we're seeing. And clearly, evaluation is a key part of that. So that is one of the areas that over the sort of coming months, we'll be very much looking into what is working well for us as a partnership and what
Right.
areas potentially need to change if we're not seeing the results that we would expect.
Right. Just on that, it's sort of going down a slightly different garden path just for a moment, mentioning Parliament. Where does Vision Zero's funding come from? Or is there any?
So Vision Zero, yeah, no, so Vision Zero is funded through anyone who takes a diversionary course to prosecution. So anybody
Oh,
that
right.
elects to do a speed awareness course, and there are a number of other courses that
Yeah.
effectively goes through our
Right.
contracted supplier. But any of that income that is then left over, that is absolutely 100% directed to everything we do within Vision Zero. And we have road safety delivery plans that we publish online that outline all
Right.
of the key work that partners are involved in.
If I was going to be a total cynic at this point, if you become very successful, doesn't your funding dry up?
Absolutely. And I think that is absolutely where we need to be.
Right,
So this is about putting in place the measures that we need to affect the change that we need to see on the roads. And
right,
clearly, if people aren't taking the educational courses, then we would expect to see those changes happening with the numbers of people being injured on our roads. And that is absolutely where we need to be as a partnership and what we want to see.
right. So success, total success. I'm being very flippant here, really, but total success actually sees you out of a job.
Yes, it would. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think every partner, especially
yeah,
those that
yes,
respond to
yeah,
those incidents on the road,
yeah.
that's absolutely where
Well,
we need to
yes,
be.
yeah, yes. Fire and rescue service could hopefully one day be just be fire service.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to go to those incidents on the
Yeah,
roads or
yeah,
be making those calls to those families. So,
yeah.
absolutely, that is exactly what we need to see moving forward.
Um, Part of this, I've written down here while you were talking, so the Learn to Live scheme.
Yep.
You're involved with that.
So, as a
Yeah,
partnership, that is very much delivered. So, my colleague who's unable to be here today would have probably talked in depth, but
yeah,
essentially, Learn to Live is a training initiative that's delivered to colleges.
yeah.
And it's very much around teaching those teachable moments in a positive way that helps protect those users. But yes, that's something that as a partnership you will see on our road safety delivery plan. It's one of many things that we do.
Yes, because I've been to I haven't been for a number of years now, but
Mhm.
I went uh, to one in Exeter University, and I went twice one year because Ollie Taylor got me to go to it. Uh, but it's remarkably powerful. I know a, a number of young people who I've spoken to because who've been to it in recent years, and how much of an impact it's made to many of them. That's certainly good to hear that it's part of your scheme. Now, I know that you're very much sort of the overlord is the wrong word, the overseer and sort of coordinator, because your full title is the partnership manager. So the in-depth side of it, I can look into with both of your colleagues at another date,
Yep.
as long as I can get them actually on screen and staying on screen. But you've got all these different categories that uh, that are available on the website. And I just dived into the young drivers bit, mainly because that's obviously of all the categories that are there, that's probably the one that stands out most when it comes to driving instructors. So, what would you see? And I know that the young drivers bit, there's some really interesting information on there, and the guide for young drivers, for parents, and a whole load of frequently asked questions that are on there would be really useful for parents and the young people to have a look at. So, do you have an idea of where driving instructors fit in to the overall scheme of things and how they can contribute?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Learn to Live is delivered at colleges. So while some of the people that attend that may have taken their test already, I think the majority won't have.
Yeah,
So I think absolutely ADIs play a very key role in terms of keeping people safe. It's taking people out and obviously teaching them not only just how to pass their test, but how to do things in a very safe manner. So, you are part of that key road safety response in terms of giving those skills to those riders. And another way in which ADIs potentially can have resources that have been made available. So we've worked with Ollie Taylor from
yeah,
Now the Honest Truth, and have been able to offer up a number of subsidised places to the Honest Truth, which allows ADIs to have access to an app-based
Yeah.
product which has a number of truths on there that they can then deliver to students as part of the lessons. So we've seen a really good take up of that,
Good.
and a number of ADIs are connected to us in that way. So, I mean, as I said, I think ADIs play a really important role in road safety, and it's obviously at the point when you're taking students out on the road,
Yeah.
but it's teaching them some of those things that they won't have then had in real experience. Some
Yeah.
may be having lessons with parents, so parents are helping to deliver that. But I think in terms of the role you play, it's a really key one.
Yeah. I know that I went to a presentation from one of the local ROSPA groups 2 years ago, where one of your colleagues was giving the presentation, and at the time, I got the impression that there were two or three fairly enthusiastic ADIs in this area who wanted to take it forward, but nothing ever actually happened there. And I've been very keen to promote the honest truth.
Mhm.
Um, it it has been hard work. I'm not going to deny that, and I got quite frustrated, and I actually avoided Ollie Taylor for several months because he kept asking me, "How's it going in Exeter?" And I think it's not. It just isn't. And getting people to get involved, I found it incredibly hard work. But the more, I think it's just a case of keep plugging away at it. And the more it's talked about, the more it's mentioned. So I knew we were going to be talking about it now because you have close ties with Holly and the honest truth. And I'm so glad that it came back, and that James Evans at First Car was able to take it on after the charity sort of basically the funding folded.
Yeah, and as I said, that is something that we have worked in collaboration with the Honest Truth this year in terms of being able to help subsidise. Very much with the view then that obviously with those ADIs that we've been able to connect in that way, that they would then see the value in terms of that being something that they
Yeah.
would carry on with in the future, having been able to sort of
Yes.
trial it
Yeah.
and see how it works and see how it really blends and supports the work that they're doing at the roadside.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much something we have started this year. We'll be looking at sort of
Yeah.
evaluating how well that's worked,
Good.
but
Yeah.
appreciate, I think, given the sort of pressure that maybe ADIs are under in terms of the number of students wanting to get engaged and the fact that there was a long period where students couldn't get out on the
Yeah.
road, there's obviously a backlog. So we do
Yeah.
appreciate how busy everyone is, but
Yeah.
it again it's another tool that can be used.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm every day. I'm expecting another email from Ollie saying, "When am I going to get your picture of your sticker on your car?" And I've put the sticker somewhere and I can't find it. Just going through some of these other categories, just very briefly, because there's a lot of things here that the changes or the amendments, however you want to put them, to the highway code that
Mhm.
came in, and there's a lot of misunderstanding around vulnerable road users as well, and just about all the categories are ones that are featured on your website: motorbikes, cyclists, older drivers, horse riders, pedestrians. Do you find that there's any, I wouldn't say conflict, but misunderstanding still over what the highway code is actually trying to achieve with all these different groups?
I mean, it's probably really difficult to say how that's resonated with
Yeah,
people since government changed it, but I think it's quite clear government has tried to put those who are most vulnerable at the top. And just to highlight that, really all of us in any walk of life, any day, we're probably a car driver, we could be a cyclist and a
yeah,
pedestrian. So we are all of those things. I think the really important thing is just recognizing that for anyone that's not within the confines of a metal box, such as a car or another
mm,
vehicle, anyone else using the road by that very nature becomes vulnerable. and we should be doing everything as car drivers, as pedestrians, as cyclists to take care for our own safety, but also everyone around us. So I think it's just, for me, it's recognizing that there are vulnerable road users by
Yeah.
that very virtue of not having the protection. But really, it's a road user respect that really must be
Yes. Yeah.
um, ingrained through everybody
Yeah.
so that we all give each other the same respect. So I think it's very much that cultural change in just recognizing what
Yeah.
dangers are
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
and doing everything that we can to make sure that, we're aware of those potential
Mm.
dangers. So
Yeah.
yeah, there may be people that misunderstand the highway code, but that is essentially it. There are vulnerable road users, and that's what that change predominantly tried to
Yeah.
emphasize,
Yeah.
and
And
quite
I
rightly so.
don't. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that a lot of us are trying to do as well is to get away from the confines of the driving test and not being test focused. Um,
Mhm.
so there's. Are you aware of the goals for driver education matrix? Does that mean anything
I'm
to
not.
you?
No,
No,
no.
right, okay. It's just the lower levels are all to do with car control, and that's
Hmm.
basically what the driving test is looking at because it's fault based. That's the problem with it. It's just looking for faults. It's not looking at the holistic side of it of an overall drive. Whereas the higher levels of this looks at the person and emotions and feelings and that sort of thing, which are the things that really affect how we drive. And most of the issues that happen on the
Mm.
road are going to be caused by somebody not concentrating for whatever reason. So that's something that I know that there's a sort of a move, albeit slowly, a bit like the honest truth, I suppose, to try and get away from just test based driving instruction. But that's
Yeah,
I'm,
thank
I'm
you for
not
that.
expecting a comment from you for that. But it is something that comes, and I think probably with all of these categories, but I think probably older drivers who will be quite rightly, for whatever reason, set in their ways and they've got their own beliefs. I've had somebody, an 80-year-old last week, who I've rather disappointed. He told me, "Oh, you've spoilt my evening," because he's been he had his license revoked and he's been given a provisional license. And he's been told by somebody that, and I can't quite work out who, that he just needs a couple of lessons with an ADI and then he can get his license back. And I said, "Mm, if you've got a provisional, that means you're going to have to do a theory test and a practical test." And I said, "Well, go away and find out definitive what it is." But he
Mm.
said, "Well, I've been driving for 60 years and I felt so sorry for him." so, so the old, because I appreciate you can't, not you can't, but you're sort of the overseer of all of this, and some of your colleagues will be able to talk to me about some of these specific areas. But just to give people a taste of what's to come, hopefully, when I can get hold of them. So your colleague Tamsin and Chris, their roles are Tamsin. I know Chris is
So,
with the Devon and Cornwall Fire Service. No,
so Chris,
Devon and
yeah,
Somerset
Chris is
Fire
with
Service.
the Somerset Fire Service, and Tamsin works with Cornwall Fire Service.
Right. And their sort of areas that they'll be able to talk in a bit more depth about will be what?
So they're delivering on initiatives both within their
Yeah.
organisations, but also for or in the collective space of Vision Zero Southwest. In terms of what we just discussed, that would include things like Learn to Live.
Right.
There are also other initiatives that they are involved, which include other areas such as Biker Down. So Biker
Oh,
Down
right.
training initiative that is aimed at bikers. I can't recall the age group that it targets, but it's effectively delivering sort of a suite of messages, one in which includes that kind of post-crash element. So what to do
Right.
in the event that a crash happens when you're out with your group riding.
Right.
So Biker Down is delivered, and both oversee those elements. So it's delivered within both counties. So there will be plenty of other things that they would be able to talk you through, but those
Lovely.
are the two that kind of spring to mind in terms of the work that Vision Zero is connected to.
Right.
So yeah, but obviously as organisations in their own right, there are obviously lots of things that they will be doing.
Yeah. And just in sort of conclusion, because I've now got a taster for people coming back and listening to them as well. Um, Vision Zero Southwest obviously feeds into Vision Zero UK.
Yeah, so I think the whole premise of Vision Zero is just that vision that there would be no harm. And as I
Yeah.
said, a lot of partnerships have adopted those principles, and many partnerships within the UK share the same aspirations as Vision Zero Southwest in
Yeah.
terms of that 50% reduction by 2030. So there are a number of organisations that are all working towards those same goals, but effectively that's, a vision is visionary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
absolutely, that's the challenge, and we need to be able to do everything we can to reduce every number where feasibly
Yeah.
possible, be it through an education training course or communications or whatever element we might be delivering to target a certain issue. That is effectively what everybody is working towards.
Yeah. Because I was just thinking, you do actually appear quite visibly on the mobile speed cameras that I see around now as well.
So we have fixed camera enforcement. So
Yeah.
obviously those are the
Yeah.
ones that you see at the roadside.
Yeah.
We also do have mobile enforcement that's carried out by our police force. So
Yeah.
they will be in communities. The communities can actually get on board with us in terms of sharing any evidence of poor driving behaviour through OpSnap.
Right.
So that's an online portal where dashcam footage can be shared. So that's one of the really key ways in which communities can work with us, because everyone is out on the road,
Right.
and at any
Yeah.
point in time, I'm sure some of us would have experienced something that we feel is unsafe, and there is an opportunity there to be able to share that via the portal. But as I said, the OpSnap portal is a great
Yes.
way to share
Yeah.
that footage,
Oh,
and
yeah.
obviously we'd recommend anyone who's got a dash cam
Yeah.
to just take a look at the website. So it's on Devon and Cornwall
Yeah.
Police's web pages. It says a little bit more about what OpSnap is,
Yes.
the types of things that it can and can't cover, and there is a secure portal for that
Yeah.
footage to be
Because
uploaded.
I've done it a couple of times, and it asks if possible to have about a minute before and a minute after, I think, as well as rather than
Yeah,
just.
and I think a lot of standard dash cams, as soon as you hit the record or the lock button, it automatically
Yeah.
gathers a bit of the
Yeah.
evidence prior to the incident as well as after. So, I mean, I don't know how each dash cam works, but I
No.
certainly know that a number of them work in those ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So I fight with mine sometimes when trying to download things, but whenever I've sent anything to OpSnap, it's been very easy. Uh,
Oh,
no,
good. Well, that's great
yeah.
feedback.
Yeah, I wish more people would do it. But I know it gets to the point where some of it probably is so low level that they have to prioritise what the really horrendous things are. And seeing some of the stuff that goes online that you've put on there, it's really horrendous. Some of the stuff that happens.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it is something that's growing in popularity. So I think it was only this year that we'd received in total 10,000 submissions over the course of the time in which the scheme has
yeah,
been opened,
yeah,
which was 2021, I
yeah,
believe. So over the course of a number of years, we do see the numbers of people putting submissions in are growing.
yeah. A number of times I'm in my wife's car with no dash cam and I see somebody with a mobile phone in their hand. If only.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens to a lot of people, or
Oh
they
yeah,
realise they've
yeah,
been driving and it's not on.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, we're sort of digressing here. I'd like to say thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to getting Tamsin and Chris sorted out at some point in the not too distant future. But so I can get their expertise as well. But it's been well worth it, backing up what I did with Holly 6 months ago now, and
Yeah.
certainly I'll get on the notes for this when it goes out. The details of your website, and encourage people to go and have a look at it. So
Yeah, no, and absolutely. I was just going to say the exact same thing. If anybody's interested in knowing more,
yeah,
then our website includes all of the groups that we're working with. It has all of our key documentation, such as our strategy. We have a strategic assessment that's undertaken so that we know what issues and
right,
problems we are
yeah,
experiencing. We also have our comm strategy in terms of how we're reaching out both internally within our partners, but also importantly with our communities. There is a wealth of information on there that people can look
yeah,
for. We publish all of our documents from our board meetings so that people can see exactly what we're doing. And importantly, one of the key things I think for people is going to the road safety delivery plans. That
yeah,
just gives an idea of the things that we are delivering collaboratively. Website, as you can imagine, will go through stages of
yeah.
updates, but there is a lot of information on there, and that's exactly where I'd say to go and have a look if you are
Yeah.
interested in what we do.
I was just going to say that I've had a delve into it prior to talking to you, and there is so much in there that it's well worth anybody taking a look at and taking out the bits that are most priority to them. But there's so much
Yeah,
there.
there will be. Yeah, absolutely. Not all of the areas will be of interest
Yeah,
to
yeah,
everyone, but they can go and look at the area that
yeah.
interests them. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Natalie, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I know you
No, thank you
can't
for
get
me.
out and enjoy the sunshine because you've still got work to do, but at least I can see it streaming in through the window.
It is indeed. Yeah, nice change.
Great. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
So my thanks to Natalie for that very interesting, illuminating discussion on Vision Zero Southwest. It was, as I said originally, intended to be her and two of her colleagues, Tamsin and Chris from the Devon and Somerset Fire Service. But the gremlins got in the way there. But I have already arranged with Tamsin and Chris for them to come on and have a discussion in September. So that's something to look forward to. If you've enjoyed this or any of the other episodes, please go to our Facebook page or website and give us a like and follow us so that you can be ready for the next episode when it comes along. So thanks very much. Hope you've enjoyed this and look forward to catching up with you next time.